Oh, hello.
There.
I'm trying to turn on. It was like, hey, turn on your video so Tom can see you. The notification to turn on my video was covering my ability. Like, hey, turn on your video so Tom can see you. The notification to turn on my video was covering my ability. Like, hey, turn on your video so Tom can see you. Alright, notification to turn on my video was covering my ability. Hey, turn on your video so Tom can see you. Alright, notification to turn on my video was covering my ability. Hey, turn on your video so Tom can see you. We are going to turn on my video.
Muting my speakers. Let me try my
Seconds. All right. We are going to turn on my video.
Muting my speakers. Let me try my
Seconds. All right. We are going to.
Filming.
Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Hey, look at that.
Yeah. Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Hey, look at that.
Yeah. Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that.
Yeah. Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that.
Live entertainment.
Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that.
Every live entertainment.
Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that.
Every live entertainment.
Well, I look fantastic in the freeze frame.
It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that. Let me be doing a silent showing. It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that. I'm getting way too much doing a silent showing. It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that. 1 second. I'm getting way too much doing a silent showing. It's a great like model shot of you. Too much delay and I don't know why. Hey, look at that. 1 second. I'm getting way too much doing a silent showing. It's a great like. Boom. Got it.
Nice.
There we go. Sorry, that was it being helpful. My iPad's over here, and the stream is playing on the iPad, and the system I'm using went, another camera! No system, not another, but I didn't notice that. How are you guys doing?
There we go. Doing good. Doing good.
Oh, my apologies, everybody. Wait for the stream to catch up, and we'll jump right in here. Thank you for coming, everyone in chat, and sitting through that beta testing of the beta testing. My name's Thom Britton. I'm a long-time Houdini. I'm a long-time vaudeville fan and a bit of a movie nerd. To my other side here, you'll see the lovely dynamic duo. That's Ashley Hamer. If she looks familiar, it's because you know her voice from the Curiosity Daily podcast, which if you're not subscribed, well, it's 15 minutes. When you haven't got 15 minutes every morning, tell your Alexa device to play it in the morning for your daily briefing. How are you doing, Ashley?
Good. How are you, Tom?
I'm really amazing. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun, especially because I've found a way to increase the number of nerds by 50% by adding you. So now we have 3 nerds all geeking out over film and Houdini, and etc. Right next to her, right in the middle, that beautiful, beautiful person, that's Jonathan Pritchard. He's a mind reader and a business guru, the Svengali of the Fortune 500. He uses the same techniques he does to read your mind to basically make your customers do what you want them to, and or make your team do what they want. Basically, he's in control, and he'll teach you how to be in control too. How you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Yes, being the professor of dark arts has its perks.
That's awesome. Give me 1 second. I've got a small. I can hear you guys, but just barely. I'm going to jump into. There we go. Get rid of that. So we're watching the first hour of the Master Mystery, starring, produced, partially written, and mostly directed by Harry Houdini. He is absolutely in charge of this, and the Master Mystery is it's an interesting film, I think, because of the history of Houdini. What's really exciting, I think Ashley nailed this, I think last time we did the show, is the idea of seeing Houdini move. And just, you hear about him. He's so famous. And to watch him is going to be amazing. Let me see. Forgive me as I'm a little frazzled now because my tech didn't work. When you're a tech guy and your tech doesn't work, it messes you up completely. What do you guys know about Houdini? I mean, I've read way too many biographies. Ashley, are you familiar with this chap beyond the basics?
I think I probably know the least of the three of us. Everything I know is probably from you two. You guys probably shared everything I know about Houdini with me, so this is great.
Yeah, he would only cross bridges made out of snakes. I told her that. Yeah, all sorts of factoids that are very much true.
Very much true.
Yeah, there's a kind of history that I'm connected with in Asheville, North Carolina, where I grew up. He did a challenge at a brewery in Asheville. So part of the challenge was that he would get put in a barrel and filled with beer and everything. So there was a brew house in the early 2000s that made a Houdini pale ale and then made a big old promo poster out of it. And I was coming back home and got one, and that's been one of my prized possessions. I have dragged that thing all over the country in all my moves, my double-digit moves in single-digit years. So it's hanging up right outside there, and it's Houdini in the bent-over chain escape position, but inverted as though he's in a like a pint glass. It's my favorite possession.
That is crazy. So I'm a big vaudeville fan in particular. So Houdini's life I find fascinating. That's one of the few escapes that almost killed him, according to his legend. You never know what to believe with Houdini. He was manipulating every single fact about his life. I mean, the man was the master of spin before it was a term. But the claim is he was a teetotaler at a time when that wasn't even... So teetotaler means don't drink, but I didn't know where the term came from until I was watching the documentary on Prohibition, the Ken Burns documentary. I myself am a teetotaler, and I use the term. And I didn't know why. So it used to be everyone drank, and you hear about like small beer was for children during the Pilgrim era because water's unsafe to drink, but water that's been sanitized in the process of fermentation is safe to drink. So you drink, I guess White Claw is what kids drank back then. Essentially, that was what children drank. And so when gin and whiskey become very cheap, especially the men, remember at this time, the men work, the women don't. So if your husband is a drunkard, your whole family's a problem, right? You can't just go get a gig and support your husband. Which is where the temperance movement comes from in this country in the 30s. The men were thinking, well, I have about this much beer, so about that much whiskey will be fine. That's fine. That's about this much whiskey in the morning before I go to work, like I do cider, right out of the jugouts. So the men were just getting blotto and then alcoholism, but they would do the same thing they do. What's it called now? California sober. So I'm sober. I mean, I smoke weed, but I'm sober. That's California sober, right?
Yep. Kind of like a California stop. You just roll through the red light. So
imagine that version of 1800s. Oh no, I don't drink. I just have like 6 or 7 beers a day. That's all. Just like 6 or 7 beers. A capital T, total abstinence. A teetotaler means, oh no, I'm Muslim, I'm religious, or I'm whatever. When I say don't drink, I don't mean I don't drink. Like in California, you'd have to say sober, super sober, capital F sober. Harry Houdini was a teetotaler at a time when no men were. That just wasn't a thing. Everyone smoked cigars if you were a man. Every man drank, and he didn't do either. And so either the booze caused him to pass out, a little bit being absorbed through the human skin, or since that's not really a thing, Houdini thought of some really good bullshit.
Yep, I was overcome by the beer fumes. This overpowering beer.
I didn't fail. I'm a teetotaler, and thus the escape went wrong. So it's a way to get in the news without admitting you're a failure, which is something Houdini apparently could never, ever do.
Yep.
Which brings me to the subject of tonight's watch-along. A man who succeeded at every single thing in the world. We're going to watch the one thing he could not succeed at. He went out to Hollywood and tried to make a go of it in the movies. And it just didn't work. Sorry, my dog's crying. I think he's playing in the living room. If you guys hear a dog crying, he's not being tortured.
Our cat's meowing. It's mass pandemonium, Tom.
This is working from home.
Yep. I like this, the forward. International Patents is a firm whose vast fortune has been made by... Yep, you can read it.
If you read the foreword, this sounds like a hell of a movie.
They've obtained sole rights. They suppress the manufacture of these inventions. Yeah.
Behold, a painting.
Ooh, that's that matte painting is phenomenal. It's almost like it's there in front of a camera.
Am I watching Atlas Shrugged right now?
Damn it. It's all downhill from here. That's the funniest thing you've said in months. International patents. Oh, okay. I was already confused. I thought that the patents thing was just a standard operating procedure of saying, hey, guys, don't steal this.
No, this is part of the plot.
Okay, this is part of the plot.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm on track for about 3 seconds, I bet.
Now my joke is funnier.
Oh, Mr. Brent.
It's got layers to it. That Hamer humor, man. You got to pay attention.
So
right.
It starts with extortion like all good movies do. Yeah, and your joke continues to get funnier. You've got to sell or we'll make you sell.
Played by Houdini. Here we go. Here we go.
I like that he's the manager of the laboratories.
That eyeshadow.
He's just tired of your shit.
He wore that on stage, too. That's exactly his stage makeup. Which is kind of cool because then that's what he would look like at any point when you saw him. You know what I mean? Like at any show you went to.
It's like, I know that face.
Well, that might be a benefit. He did play a lot for a long time, so it wouldn't have just been New York, LA, Chicago who had seen him 10 years, 20 years, 15 years ago. Poughkeepsie, Idaho, out 100 miles outside of Paris, that kind of thing. So maybe he was hoping, if I look like I look, in their memories, then they'll pay their nickel.
Okay,
Wait.
Houdini is wearing headphones, looking at the.
He's listening in.
Oh,
I guess
he's spying
secretly. Yeah.
Because there are magic books where you've got an assistant sitting in another room. You've wired your house to a base plate, and then microphones under your shirt. And then your heel of your shoe plugs in, and now your friend in the other room can hear what's going on. This is back when all that was cutting-edge technology, and they would just trick out their whole home just to mess with people, because this was kind of back in parlor entertainment days. Sure, you'd go to the Orpheum, you'd go out, but also, let's all come over to the house and see what so-and-so can do. Yeah.
The Graveyard of Genius. A rock. It harbors the ghosts of 1,000 inventors' dead hopes. Goodness.
This is for kids.
It's moving on its own.
This is a serial for kids. Before the cartoon, before the movie, you see how Houdini missed the mark tonally a little bit. Also, there's a mixture of time here. So those headphones may also be, there's a sci-fi element later on. If it's in this half or the next half, there's a robot, there's an android, there's some stuff that's like a little. So those may have also been what we imagine headphones will do in the future. Or as Matt calls it, he's zooming into the meeting.
Yep. I'm an automaton right now.
Matt is asking why they would plug the wire into their shoe.
Because it would be obvious if they were doing it any other way.
But
it
that's
was
like to
sneaky.
get electricity?
No, it was sneaky because you had to complete the circuit. Like, part of it would be that you would hear them talking from the other room too, right? So that way your friend who had been gathering information could go to that room, and you had your spot that you would stand and then click, you're in. Now you can hear them in your headpiece because you got this big getup.
Yeah.
Right.
Technical warning, since we use ultra-low latency so we can read and keep up with the chat just for such questions, you may see some buffering issues. That's just a trade-off I'm making on my end. Essentially, I'm streaming this file to you guys. So just keep in mind, if it goes to buffer at some point during the movie, just hang on. It usually takes 10 or 20 seconds. I have decent internet here in Chicago.
Yep.
But everyone's home, and it's Friday night, so everyone's watching Netflix also. So, I don't hate the sets. I don't hate the cinematography. The pacing's a little, even for a serial back then, it's a little slow though. Like normally, consider the competition. Like those old serials would have either been heavily comedic, just because comedy, slapstick especially, translates so early and often. I would say. I mean, we still have, Mr. Bean today. Dick Van Dyke for the Last Generation, etc. So it certainly holds up the test of time. Also plays internationally. Remember, like the automobile. Film in general is also a French invention. Like a lot of innovators are on that side of the pond pushing. Yeah. So if it can play in multiple languages with subtitles, it's important. So comedies, and then right around the corner, you got the Keystone Cops coming. So you've got proto versions of that. Not quite Fatty Arbuckle and the Keystone Cops yet, 1920s, but any second now. You're going to have that, Buster Keaton, Charles Chaplin. You're going to have some real genius. And so as you watch this, you're thinking like, why aren't you doing backflips, dude? Why aren't you? Also, how about a card trick, bro? Like, you're a magician. You're a visual artist. Like, why
you're
are
the
you
king of cards before you were the escape artist.
Also, this is just, we're like a few minutes into the movie. There are like 6 characters and like so much going on already. I could barely keep up. And it's a lot. It's an
8-minute piece. Now, granted, it's a serial, so it's meant to be, this will be, depending on where you get it, between 16 and 20 parts. It was a 16-part original when it came out, but it got remixed, lost, reshuffled. So I think the version I've got is 20.
So people would already know these characters?
No. But I think you have to like the first episode of Game of Thrones. You're building for episode 18 or 20, but even then, 8 minutes. I mean, yeah, you're right. He could cut this in half and introduce some of these folks in episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
I have a kind of a general rule that movies that start with voiceovers or text explainers, I'm like, this is going to be hot garbage. Now, I get that the title cards and interstitials were the name of the game, but there have been so many, and they haven't changed seeds. Like, they're just every couple of seconds. It's like, well, we got to move this dead horse along with some more exposition.
And I think that happens because it's one guy's vision. So you're watching an auteur, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And if you go to a lot of film festivals, as I do, you see a lot of both better and worse when it's the auteur. You're seeing a man with, I would say, by today's standards, an unlimited budget. I mean, the film doesn't look bad. It's lit very well. Those are other actors with him. Those scenes are prop heavy, prop rich. Like that laboratory looks like a real working laboratory, not a set on a Hollywood, janky thrown together, we're doing Frankenstein kind of lab. It looks lived in, which means someone got paid to make it look lived in.
She's jealous of the lady.
Yeah, Bess is just sitting right off camera, just staring
Fuming.
daggers the whole time.
Fuming.
The influence dominates Paul.
You do not read a lot about he and Bess's relationship, I think, because he so tightly spun everything. It's assumed to have been the all-American couple. Same thing with his mom, but he really, really loved his mother, which is both good and bad, because, when you're the wife and you want to be one of the more important female energies in the room, and this mother, maybe they got along. That was the way it was always spun. But you can imagine, even if you get along famously with your mother-in-law, at a certain point, you're like, why is she on the train with us for the show? She's not in the show. She has her own cart. She would have a train car, as did the elephant, as did Bess and Harry. Like, you never get away from your mother-in-law. And I would love to see some scholarly work on that, or, God forbid, a biopic that focused on, Harry and Bess.
I like how the hairstyles of the day all had, like, earmuffs. Everybody's like, oh, gotta cover them.
He's using his vaudeville projection to shout from the window there.
What?
A couple of the glasses in there broke.
I've never thought about trying to find. I wonder if there's audio of, because he was a Hungarian-born immigrant, but he was 9 when he came here to New York originally. His father was a rabbi. And because he couldn't learn English quickly, if ever, they moved to Appleton, this is weird. So you go to New York, you try and find work as a rabbi, and you're not able to learn the language. But if you move to Appleton, you find a lot of Hungarian-speaking Jewish people. Seems the complete reverse of the way I would think. Like, what do you mean? There's not a Hungarian Jewish part of New York?
Right.
But to have heard, so he's 9 years old, moved here from Hungary, but then grew up in a little bit in New York and then Wisconsin. That's got to make, and then he's a performer on stage. So who knows how much affectation he's putting into his speech back then. I would love to hear whatever kind of weird melange that voice creates as far as an accent.
Yeah. I could trust you better if they were married. That's right. Tom, I could trust you better if we were married. Like, that makes no sense.
No, I believe, I'm barely keeping up, but basically his children and the other guy's children need to marry. So then they will have like a family alliance.
Okay, so this is
It's Game of
King's
Thrones.
rules.
This is Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. There's going to be a dragon. Just wait. There's going to be...
Exactly, a match made in the boardroom.
This feels like it would have been a real... I wish he'd leaned in on doing like a serialized soap opera and not been in it. Like directed, written by Houdini.
Yeah.
But I think because he's in it, I'm expecting juggling, backflips. I'm expecting vaudeville, visual humor, and kind of brighter, poppier, more fun. You know what I mean? But maybe he was tired of doing that. And was like, no, I want to make a serious piece of art. And I'd just be like, well, then don't be in it, dude. That's fine. Just,
Oh, sad Houdini.
Sad Houdini. That should be a meme. Sad Houdini.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and screenshot that.
Yeah.
I'll send you the MP4. I've got it on my hard drive.
Nice.
I also uploaded this. If anybody wants a copy, I've got it. It's unlisted on my YouTube channel, but I'll send you a link. I didn't know about the music, whether it was copywritten or not. So my trick is I upload it to YouTube and give them like 5 or 6 days to flag it and see what YouTube thinks about the music. And so if you want to, I can send it to you. I don't know if you want to watch it yourself later. The entire 2-hour version.
That'd be cool.
You guys know about Houdini's brother? The great
Those old
No.
DMCA warnings.
right?
Yeah.
Just he's torrenting copyright material. He's got a warning.
Oh, no, they're going to strike down the Madagascar cockroach. I don't know.
What?
That's the hissing one,
That was-
right?
Yeah, that was the written thing. Ah, there we go. I wasn't just making up Madagascar. I was making up the cockroach.
I think Houdini has good presence on the stage. I don't know what doesn't work about him. Like when I see him in scenes, he is partly because he's very good at attracting attention, the eye makeup, the hair, but he does know how to pull focus back in a time when there's only 1 or 2 actors in a shot.
It's hard to tell whether, like, because it'd be easy to say just like maybe he chose bad films, but I don't know. Maybe this is good for the time. I don't know.
No, even at the time, actually, it was not, let's say, panned. A term we have now that they didn't have then, but these were never, I mean, in the same way if Kim Kardashian made an indie film, a certain number of people would watch it just because fame begets a certain number of eyeballs. Thus, it would be with Houdini. Like a certain number of people saw this, or distributors picked it up and then did not pick up the next one because they're like, Houdini! And to be fair, his name did put butts in seats, even in the cinema. I'd have paid 3 cents or whatever it cost to walk in and see the 8-minute Houdini, the first couple of them, and been like, I don't like them. I love this show, but I'm not into these.
Yeah.
I'd even tried the next one. You know, he does. He starts doing feature lengths because if
Yeah.
one doesn't work, try feature length.
So this is the part of the movie where they're turning into Elon Musk. Right? They're saying, we can put a brain in a robot.
And he's like, it's gonna turn into a terrible agent of destruction. I don't care.
And the other
To
guy's
print.
going, what's this have to do with my copyright? Don't worry about it. I mean, brain in a robot.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, though, keep in mind. So remember this moment where he holds up the doll, the prototype, because
Yep.
that's what it fucking looks like.
Ugh.
Like they just took the model
Terrifying.
maker's first draft and made a full size version. And went, that's the one. Look it.
Ooh.
From Brent
Secret
Rock.
home.
I love it. Mr. Brent and his home on Brent Rock.
He's He's got the money. Oh, there it is.
Nice.
Oh, there's already a brain
Just
in
scaled
it.
up.
Look at those hips.
That's a birthing robot.
Those are baby robot birthing hips.
That's right. Those are load bearing.
Why does it need a candelabra, and why doesn't it light the candelabra?
Love the eyes.
It's to watch out for danger, see?
Boy, I hope that actor was paid well.
Yeah, that went on his reel. It is Houdini's bat cave.
Oh?
And the robot farted. Judy chop.
What does that prove?
What happened? I don't understand. Why? Something is smelly.
I think they're just freaked out that it could do the thing.
It blew out candles.
Oh.
But okay. Is that cool?
Weird.
Well, that's...
And now they're back in the same room as before.
Was that a dream sequence, maybe? Another thing robot should be able to do is light candles. What? No robot can light candles? It's for that.
It's the power of darkness. The power of darkness compels you.
But what if the robot can blow out candles?
I guess he did build a candle blowing out robot that needs you to light candles so that it can fulfill its programming.
Maybe what just happened is they were like, we can make a robot with a human brain. He's like, don't do that. I've already done it. He blew out candles. It was horrible. I think that's what happened.
Never again, I tell you.
And now it knocked out the fuses, so it just leveled up what it can extinguish in terms of light.
Boy.
Now everyone only has candles.
Yep.
Next stop, the sun.
That's right. I like that they're using the blue tint, like from Nosferatu.
Yeah, you guys talked about that last time.
I think it's an accident in this movie.
Yeah.
I think this is just the age of the film.
I think the robot's just concerned that people can't find their way around since he made it so dark. See, it's Munchausen by proxy syndrome. Make it dark so that people will value my candles.
There you go.
If this robot were that smart, that would actually be like...
Oh, that's cool.
Although the bluish hue, I don't hate it. Like, as far as a shot technique, especially the wide shots where you can see upstairs, downstairs, the person crossing. Like, it's very interesting cinematography if it's done on purpose.
Yeah. I like what Mariano said. It was the robot in the parlor with the candelabra.
Yep.
Yep, I think that's coming.
Oh no, they're lighting a candelabra, the robot!
It's gonna hunt you down.
The robot's attracted to candelabras. What? Is it a moth?
Thank you.
Also,
I'll
that
take
man
the
walks
broken
fast
beer
for someone
bottle.
holding candles.
I think Houdini looked into the camera when he turned. I swear to God, he like made eye contact with me.
That's awesome. I bet he was hollering cut.
Are you scared? You should be scared. There's a robot. It's coming to get you. I'm Houdini.
I'm Houdini. Look under your chair. Is that your card?
Are you the terrified of spades?
Hey, Christine, will you hand me that soda?
Oh no!
Judy chop.
Oh.
Oh, that guy just got robo Judy chopped.
Oh, he got roboted so hard.
Yep.
Roboted so hard.
Because their hands are made out of metal and they are strong, and you can't get away. That was one of my favorite Saturday Night Live skits from way back in the day. Robot insurance.
Do either of you know? So I know the 3 laws are Asimov, but like there's a lot of established robot lore very early on. Was there just one definitive book I'm not aware of that did all that?
I guess
I came in 100 years after it started, so I don't know.
It's the Madagascar Madness. I think my grandpa meant something different.
That's the biggest mattress sell of the year now. It's Madagascar Madness.
40% off all rugs. Gotta go before the robots get them.
Before the robots get 'em.
No, we're about
Yeah,
halfway through, right?
I do wonder. Matt mentioned this too. Why it turned from blue to red? Did things get more intense?
This could also different episode, and they might have been trying different stuff. Because I kind of threw all these in a Final Cut and then exported them. There were no. You'll see occasionally a buffer. You'll occasionally see Houdini will be back next week, but the files I downloaded didn't all have that. So it literally might be this week's episode is a new Pinkorama, because for whatever reason that was the new hotness. But honestly, I do think it's just we were talking about this beforehand, like the Johnny Carson, the Tonight Show. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself on YouTube. This stuff was considered so disposable. That's why there's 16 to 20 episodes. It got lost. It got remixed. If you're the distributor and you paid for this turkey, then you're like, it's not working. But if I showed let's get that robot in earlier. I'm showing reel 5 first. Screw you guys. I need popcorn sales.
Yep.
And that wasn't a thing that Houdini would have gotten pissed about. They just didn't have that kind of director thing. That's a very not much later. It's later. They want Charles. Once someone doesn't.
Jordan had a great insight, Tom. He was saying Rosie from the Jetsons doesn't look too different from the robot.
I'm wondering if they all pull from a common source. That I don't like. I didn't read any of the Barsoom stuff. The what's John Carter of Mars,
right?
Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. I came in at like C-3PO. So by the time I got into the game, robot stuff. Well, I was post Asimov. There was so many people taking a swipe at this in a great way. So I wonder if Rosie, the animator, and whoever did the set design here just looked at the same illustration in a book that everyone would have had.
Yep.
There's another really good point in the chat. Arthur O'Dwyer says the blue filter is the outdoors at night mood, and the red filter is the candlelight mood. And so in this case, all the lights went out. It was blue. Then they lit some candles. It was red. That makes sense.
Yep. All right. He's got a prop.
And now he's starting to do something. This is what I wanted from the beginning.
All right.
I want Houdini MacGyvering, Houdini juggling, Houdini.
Nice.
He's such a physically fit guy. Why is he not roughing people up? Why is he not kind of the proto Jet Li or Buster Keaton, who's called the original stuntman, or Hollywood's first?
He just made a grappling hook.
Here we go.
And this is what Houdinis do bestest. The door is locked. The hell you say?
String.
Aha. Yeah, Buster Keaton is awesome. This helps you appreciate how amazing Buster Keaton is.
Which one's Buster Keaton?
He's nowhere in this movie.
Got it.
Yep.
If Buster Keaton were here, you would know it. Buster Keaton is nonstop. I mean, like Buster Keaton shorts, especially the shorts, the early stuff where he wasn't famous, and so he had to earn every second of your attention because like, who the hell's this loser? And he was called Old Stone Face. Like he just didn't emote a ton, so he, like a Jackie Chan or someone else, let his physicality speak for him. And it's like the Keystone Cops. It's a mile a minute. Like he's falling down something, jumping over something, running into something. Then he gets really creative once he's got your attention. He can have you sit there for 2 minutes before you get nervous. Like, oh, it's Buster Keaton. I love this guy. I'll wait patiently to see what develops. Holy crap, does he get good. Stuff on wings of planes. Yeah.
Eric, I love that. These guys are more like Busted Keaton.
Boom. Roasted. There's
his pensive looking at ghosts pose.
Pull my finger.
That's a different trick.
Is it you?
You don't know what you're getting yourself into there, Copper.
No. Don't put handcuffs on Houdini.
Stop.
No.
I can only get so excited.
You're going to see this twice because this is where it overlapped. I forgot to edit this part out. You'll see me get cuffed a couple of times.
Can't wait.
F-Bomb TV.
Or actually what I think might have happened
too soon.
Was they handcuffed him, come back next week, and so they previously on was butted together.
I love that. He said, I hope the robot doesn't punch Houdini in the stomach.
Also, what a crazy idea to be like, how are we going to open the door? And he's like, does anyone have an umbrella? Like, maybe he didn't hear me. I said, how are we going to open the door?
Oh, he did it. He got out.
In the least interesting way possible, though, by the way. Could you have made it look hard?
Yeah.
Or dramatic? Also, you didn't need to take the handcuffs off to take the paper out of the drawer.
Right.
Or take them off at all.
Oh, what's he doing now?
He's getting back in the handcuffs.
He's the master of
He took 'em
unescape
off
also.
To read a piece of paper that was at his feet, and then he put them back on.
Which, if you're 7, you're like yelling like, "What? Why? Why did you do that, Houdini?"
Make
Also,
a run
where'd your
for it.
eyeshadow go? Just gone.
Where's your continuity manager?
He is the continuity. That's the problem. He's director, writer, star, continuity manager. I don't hate the suit though. I mean, a lot of this, the hair, but the suit actually looks pretty. You change that collar a little bit, but that suit will work.
That's what she said. So they arrested him, figured out, no, it wasn't him. And between him getting out, he got out and back in again, so that when they let him go, it was all copacetic. Okay. Hello, I'd like to report a boring movie. A boring movie, you say? Yes, I made it. I'm turning myself in. I have broken the trust of my audience.
Where's the robot? This needs to be 100% more robot.
Yeah, we need way more robot.
It should be Houdini versus the robot. That's on the marquee.
Did they take that guy's left hemisphere and the other dude's right hemisphere or something?
Yeah, it kind of seems that way.
Or are they just drunk?
I thought drunken in love. Like they're making lovey-dovey eyes at each other when he walks in the room. I was like, wait, is this what's going on here? This is pre-code.
It is their corporate nuptials night.
There's the other sad thing. This is pre-code. This could have much more nudity and violence in it. And doesn't.
Were you in Madagascar recently?
Why, do I look like I've got a lemur tail for brains?
What am I, some kind of hissing cockroach?
I mean, I've been around Mozambique once or two. Don't get me wrong. I know my way around the Isles. Yeah, if you got candles, you better light them and smoke them to make it through this movie.
I've always wondered this. In silent films, do they have actual lines that they have to recite but then you never hear them? I mean, they don't mouth the words, right? They actually are talking to each other. And they're not saying...
I bet
Well, they
they
also
are.
encapsulate, because you'll have scenes. I'm thinking specifically of Charlie Chaplin movies, right? Charlie Chaplin. There's like clearly a few sentences, and then it goes, I'm divorcing you. Like it's sort of like just the gist of the scene. So yeah, I wonder if you could get hold of Charles Chaplin's scripts. If he doesn't almost have what you would have now as an actor of internal monologue or backstory from a director, where it's like, I'm blanking on the name. Heart of Darkness. I'm trying to think of a director, but a director is an actor's director. Famously will have you go outside. There's a scene in one of the John Grisham adaptations where a lady on the stand is talking about being abused by this man at work. The director had the two actors go in a room, recreate that scene of him. He's the boss, basically. He said, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to fire you. But it's sexual harassment. They did that so then she could shoot that on the stand, feeling that moment of awkwardness that they just did. It's not even being filmed. Wow. He's directing them in an improv, so then she has some sense memory to kind of react to. I wonder if Charles Chaplin was doing like, you're saying I'm cheating on you, but you don't actually know it for a fact, but say it like you do. And then he knows how that's going to read on camera. It's like, does she know or does she not know? I wonder how far ahead of the curve these guys were, because some of those old shorts are you know, if they'd been born 40 years later, they still would have been movie stars, is what you feel like. You feel like that guy's so good. Like Buster Keaton 20 years later still would have found a way to do movies.
Yeah.
Pat says it's so bad it killed one of the actors.
Call an ambulance. We're bored to death.
It is just, oh, well, robots are coming back. At least there's some hope for us. There's elements when you've got a budget,
Robot.
Harry Houdini, and a
He wants to
life-size
play
robot.
rock, paper, scissors.
How you failed is beyond me.
Yeah. So the robot is the brains of the operation. He was just commanding people around.
Ironically, the brains of the operation, because they had brains of an operation that was a human. They moved those brains into a robot for no real reason.
Yep.
Gaining
Now
only
we're
brains.
outside in red. I don't know, man.
They're gonna try to trip the robot.
What position do you think, like robots henchman is definitely entry level? Like you don't have health insurance yet. It's like your 30-day probation. Then you get moved
Yeah.
up to equal to the
You can't-
robot.
Yeah, you can't even hench for a person.
You
Only a
just
robot
light
would
and
hire
unlight
you.
Yeah.
candles. That's all you do all day. You light candelabra, you unlight candelabra, back and forth.
You let me Judy chop you once or 3 times a day.
The robot needs to practice judo chops.
That's right. Got to get perfect form.
Oh, another put on the uniforms.
Treachery.
Did they steal an ambulance?
No.
I guess
I
so.
saw a stretcher. I thought they were stealing a milk truck for a second because the white uniforms are only in my mind associated with milk trucks. But what a great disguise for scouting the neighborhood, I thought. Milkmen. No one will suspect them. It's like being dressed as
Yeah.
a postman now.
Is this a composite shot? Or just no?
Yeah. That's...
Not you, just her.
Oh, there will be
Something's
someone
never
in a
changed.
straitjacket, Eric. I could probably, and I might make it for YouTube. I'll put up like a 5 or 6 minute super cut of what I think are there are highlights in this film series. I mean, at the end of this hour, this thing will end on a nice bang. Some of the stunt work that's happening during the fight scene is not bad at all. And then finally, you see Houdini using his physicality. And there are no stand-ins, I
Oh,
remind
wow.
you. The
Look
idea
at
of a
that.
stuntman is not a thing.
Look at that.
Those are the guys doing it.
He's got big ups. Wow. That was 2 full-grown dudes being held up by one small-ass dude. And then dropped.
And F-Bomb points out, or you could have taken the stairs. You could have just taken the stairs. Walk up and punch him.
Oh, Houdini just got
A-
knocked out by those big old hips.
Straitjacket. They found the only thing worse than putting him in handcuffs. Now, what I hope he does is escapes and then puts it back on after reading a piece of paper.
Yep.
But that's his move.
They're gonna know I got out.
Also, they keep cutting away from him being put in a straitjacket. Like, that's the goal. Watching that man get bound up is the goal.
Like, he's heavy. We'll just come back. Some hand waving.
Here's Robot. Nice.
Just leave him alone in a room in a straitjacket.
What are they gonna do next? Explain their whole evil plan to him?
It's Mr. Evil. It's what? I put him in a room. I expect it to go to fruition. What? What's the problem? What's the big deal?
Yeah.
You're not going to watch him die? No, Scott. Why would I do that? You guys don't have to wait a week when you see the continuations. Just give it a second.
He couldn't escape this movie. How's he getting out of a straitjacket?
How pissed would you be, though, if you paid your nickel and that was the ending? Wait, come on. Like, a robot running
I would be
around.
mostly pissed if the one that I had to see was him picking a lock. Like, at least I got to see him in a straitjacket, you know?
He fought a little bit. There's a scrap, a little tussle. That was exciting.
How many kids went home and ruined their mom's umbrellas? trying to pick the door locks. Like, lock it again, Kyle. I'm going to get in from the outside like Houdini did.
Oh, okay. So Brent made a fortune by keeping inventions off the market. So I don't know how he made a fortune off of them if he didn't sell them. Yeah. Weird.
Oh, the two guys we thought were drunk. We forgot about the Madagascar laughing madness.
Oh.
Oh, I see. Of course, the laughing madness.
And the robot or automaton has a bat cave.
Oh, administers the poison by the smoke of candles and pursues Brent's daughter Eva to her boudoir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for explaining.
Yeah,
There's
you could have done
poison.
that at the beginning.
Or told a good enough story where we were all on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have helped too.
Quentin Locke has been bound in a straitjacket. He's also newly engaged. Didn't realize that. Okay. See, this is so complicated. So Quentin has been bound in a straitjacket by the people who are bringing the ambulance to take the other guy away.
Right, the ambulance was coming for one person, then the ne'er-do-wells hijacked it to take away the only person who could possibly defeat the robo-terror.
Right.
And the automaton, who has incredible strength and is made of metal, uses poisonous candles to give you a laughing sickness.
You know, play to its strength.
Yeah, because, you know, like
Play
when
to its
Superman
strength.
shoots you with a gun.
Yep.
All right, here he is.
He's exhausted.
Or is
Let's
he?
watch him. Let's watch him flop like a fish.
Oh, Eric. Yeah, his last name is Locke.
Yeah,
That's,
clever, right?
Yeah.
Don't feel bad about taking that long to realize it.
But watching him escape from a
Wow,
straitjacket,
look at that.
I get it. Like, I get how, to an orchestra on stage, like, this would just be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, his tailor must have been happy too.
Yes.
This doesn't really seem like he's making a lot of progress, though. A lot of flopping.
Well,
Okay.
famously, Houdini would wait. Like, there's a famous trick he did where he would escape from, like, a milk can of water, right?
Yep.
And he would pretty much instantly get out of it and hide behind it and read a newspaper. And they'd keep taking the curtain up and down while the timer went like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And the orchestra's playing like a nice waltz. And the audience is howling, he's got to be dead, let him out. At one point, you could hear him flipping the paper as he's reading. And the assistant was like, Mr. Houdini, they can hear you. Tell the orchestra to play louder. And would wait until they're at a fever pitch. So
That's
live,
great.
he probably flopped around making no progress in that straitjacket until you, me, and Jonathan are all like, come on, man, get out of
Yeah.
here. Just, freaking out.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
You can't shoot a robot.
Yeah, you got to shoot directly into the path of the hostages.
Aim for the brain.
Yep.
I do want to say, though, that the fight scenes are more realistic in these movies than they are these days.
They're
There's
clumsier.
no choreography.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Just do it.
You boys know how to tussle. Now tussle. Okay, this 15 minutes of the movie is good.
Yeah.
Straitjacket
the camera
escape,
moved, too.
robot action,
Yeah.
fight scene. There's a little love thing going on. Doors are getting busted
Oh.
down. This I would
Oh.
pay a nickel for.
She's trying to revive him with her wiles.
Oh, goodness.
It's working.
That is not the woman he is engaged to, I think.
Also, one of them has a gun. The others have sticks.
Yeah. They're not even good sticks.
Oh, was he forced to be married to the corporate lady,
Might be.
but
yeah.
his love was this one?
Those title cards with the robot on them.
Yeah, that's not what the robot looks like, prop people.
That's early.
Sorry.
That's early concept art. Then they got the budget and went, well, or Rosie Jetson. That's fine.
We spent them all on Houdini suits, so
I had a difficult time, so finding a tailor who has the ability to make those suits, the gentleman juggler's suits. I juggle. I'm a physical performer. I'm on stage, and so finding someone to. Well, now we've got spandex. They didn't, but there's real tricks to it for the gentleman juggler and gentleman acrobat. Watch some of the old 1950s, the variety shows like Ed Sullivan. Guys in what appear to be just tailored suits, high-level acrobatics. And I was taking this clip on my phone to my tailor. This is my life. To my tailor, Tanya. Hi, Tanya. And like how this guy's doing kick flips and splits, and I can barely get on and off the ground on the show. And so she had to go and like research the dark art. Now, thankfully, spandex in certain points is the answer now. But Houdini suits absolutely up until the 70s were you went to the circus tailor and you said, hey, I'm a magician, but I do this very physical part of my act. I need a gentleman juggler, gentleman acrobat suit.
That's great. Yeah, places never seem to believe me when I say, I need some more room. I need to be able to do this stuff. And they're like, oh, you won't do that much. I was like, I know my life more than you. So it's always an uphill battle to explain, no, I need to have cards in my pocket. I'm not just going to have flat paper. I need a little more room. They're like, well, that's a little baggy. I'm like, you do my job then with a tight suit.
I can give you her number. She's in Rogers Park. The trick was I found a nice Russian lady because circus in Russia is huge. Huge. Now, the trick was getting Tanya to not put sequins on it because circus in Russia is also very sequin heavy. And she was like, yes, it'll make it for you. It'll be purple and pink and yellow. They'll be able to see it from space. I'm like, thank you, but more of a gray guy.
Right. That thing that attacks us calls himself Q. The robot has a name.
I do like how much the butler figures out. So before the butler called the cops, the butler's making discoveries. This is before the butler did it trope. And so the servant of the house is actually kind of the eyes and ears of the house and an information center, which we also learned from early psychics. It's like you talk to the maid, you talk, Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen of New Orleans, one of the reasons she seems to have had so much information is because of herself being a woman of color, talking to slaves and free people of color who worked for wealthy people and getting all the dirt and gossip, and being the voodoo on the priest, the clergy that the black folks went to. She could get you to dish because she was basically your priest. So when she called, you took her call. And like there's still that idea of like, who knows everything going on in the house? The maid, the butler, the driver. Talk to them.
Yeah. QAnon. Yeah. Oh, so he's engaged to her. Oh.
He should have just made a soap opera. He said he wants to.
Tangled in this web of deceit and relationships. How's he going to get out of this one? It wasn't me.
This, if you guys can hear the piano score underneath, apparently this is the original soundtrack as well. Unfortunately, one of the few that we have the original score on the original performance. Original score for, it seems like all the films you don't really care that much about somehow get beautifully preserved. And then you go to watch like the original Citizen Kane and they're like, we can't find the third roll to scan it for HD. It's like, really? You guys lost to that?
Yeah, because all the ones that suck, you're like, well, I could steal the good one or the bad one. Let me steal the good one.
I collect a lot of vaudeville memorabilia, or did at one point, and I have a lot of Charlie Chaplin stuff because, unlike, so Buster Keaton and Fatty Arbuckle start with the Keystone Cops for one and Arbuckle and Keaton for the other, right? They kind of get famous slowly. So their early work is super expensive because they didn't come out of the gate like, a Michael Jackson level star. Whereas Charles Chaplin, kind of from his first movie, it was a pretty big success. And so the second one, they printed 20,000 of everything. So to find the Charles Chaplin, I've got an original, the kid poster. And it was only a couple hundred, I think $100-something for an original print of the kid, one of the more famous movies. It's because it was a huge movie. It's like an original Star Wars print you get on eBay for $50.
Yeah.
Can he get out of this sham marriage the way he got out of the straitjacket? Tune in next week to find out.
Yeah, it's going to take a whole lot of flailing around like a fish on the floor.
I mean, I don't know what your marriage is like, but
A lot of flailing around like a fish on the floor.
As someone who's been married for 1.2 million years, I concur. I met my
Hey,
wife
keep
in
it exciting.
1996, I think. So yeah, it's almost not a joke. Was it 96,
whoa,
honey? She's not listening. That's the secret to a good marriage, kids. Don't listen to each other.
Selective hearing.
She's
I select to not hear you.
fine. It's done. Too much communication is not healthy, guys. That's the lesson you should take from this.
Hey, Jennifer, welcome.
Hey, Dr. Newport.
26 years of flailing on like a fish.
I love these laboratories, though. The set design on this, I will like that. Whoever did that, you know, he hired the right person because there's depth to these sets.
Oh, this is the chemist looking for the antidote to the poison candles.
Oh no!
The amount of catch and release in this movie.
Yeah. The Madagascar choking cockroach.
Oh, Jonathan, Eric wants to know how familiar you are with George, Supreme Master of Magic. So I know my glasses on, so if you see me doing this,
Yeah,
I'm trying to read the chat.
Unfortunately, I don't know much about him since his tours were aborted in 1920s.
Yeah, I'm the vaudeville nerd. I'm the one
Yeah.
who would have collected.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never heard of him.
I like
A
Keller.
bad student of magic.
There's a magician from that era who has really good iconography. I think Keller is really good.
Yep.
And The Man Who Knows is a very famous lithograph.
Alexander,
yeah. Houdini stuff was fine. It's just Houdini stuff was kind of down the middle. It was sort of like advertising Coca-Cola because he became such a commodity. It's a little boring now. I think the guys who were not as famous or before they got as famous, like Chung Ling Soo, tried harder. And so the artwork is just more at a certain point and early on. So Houdini starts off as a double act with his brother, Hardin. Then he becomes a double act with Bess, his wife. Hardin has a very successful career. Houdini and Bess worked the sideshow, and that's how I first heard of them. I'm a sideshow performer.
King of Cards.
The King of Cards. And then a promoter comes along and says, hey, if you drop that card stuff and focus on that killer straitjacket routine you and your wife are doing, I'll book you a whole run. He hated the sideshow, called himself Dime Show Harry, something like that. He hated being in the freak show, hated the work, took the job, and then very quickly, so he slogs for years and years and years, toiling in nothingness and freak show. No posters, though. No advertisement. Just come see the freak show for a nickel. And almost immediately after he does okay in America, goes to Europe and hits big. And so the kind of first few posters are American posters. Those are super expensive. Once he's what he called Europe's eclipsing sensation, those are easy to find still because he very quickly became a big deal there. Now he had a budget to come back to America. But consider what we're watching here. His only real failure, he toiled for a while in his youth, paying his dues. By the time he got to Europe, still a very young man in a very young marriage, he's very famous. Then by the time he gets back to America, rockets up to super famous and stays there his entire career. Then is the first person to fly an airplane in Australia. He gets into aviation. He was the first person to fly in a bunch of states. But the first guy down under to fly an aircraft, he had to smuggle it in because the Australians wanted an Australian to be the first Australian, right? National pride. Smuggled it in so he could be number one. Pretended like he was going to do shows, then didn't. Got the hell out of Australia. And then goes into spiritualist fighting.
See ya.
What's that?
Just be like, well, I did what I came here to do. See ya, Australia.
Houdini out. Then he gets into fighting with seances, which Jonathan and I cover in the show. We did the seance. And he even has insane. So imagine you're at the peak of your performance. Like Beyonce right now says, you know what, I'm done with this. I won a Grammy a few weeks ago. I fight seances now. There's no tapering down of audiences. She's super famous and then seances. That was Houdini. He wasn't done with one thing. He just stopped. And then was insanely successful with this thing. This is the only thing he ever swung at that he didn't just knock out of the damn park. He was not a man accustomed to failure either. I can't imagine how well he was a man of some ego, as I think anyone who has success in any endeavor is. But he was a little known for that, so I'm sure it was quite a gut punch for him to not kick ass at everything.
Is he supposed to look like Thomas Edison?
He really does.
Yeah. Probably, honestly. Thomas Edison was such an iconic figure that's probably intentional too.
Yeah. Ashley is so appalled at the acting.
She's out of here.
She's out. She'll be back. She always is.
When they do a title card and they have to hyphenate a word, I always wonder, like, couldn't you just write it on the next line? It's like you're not typing these things in real time.
Yeah.
You're hand lettering it, so why not have whatever be one word on the next line? I don't know what the process is where they have to like hyphenate. Like they'll do the thing where it says, I found an antidote, but it'll be anti-dote.
Yeah.
And then end quote, and then next line, come get the cure. I'm like, what? How was this process where I don't understand what was happening, because that makes no sense.
I love that they're more worried about the poison candles than the robot with a human brain trying to kill them.
Also, they discuss it while standing around a candle.
Right.
Quick, everyone, stand by this candelabra. I'm very concerned about these candelabra.
I will be at this place. Not that place. This place.
Insets are weird too. You already have established the way of you do title cards. That's a known thing. It's not a talkie. That's not even a concept. So then to put I'll be here at 5 o'clock not on a title card. Like it seems like in the script writing, you're aware of how these things are done. Aren't you, screenplay writer?
Yeah. You could have moved that narrative forward a little faster.
Yeah, or I'd completely redone the idea that she gets a message that has to then be shown and they got to set up lighting, a camera, have either her hands or someone who looks enough like her hands come into the shot to hold the paper. That's a lot when you could have just been like, or what if we did this? What if he just said it and that's a title card, moving on?
Yeah.
Anytime they read something, it makes me wonder, like, this wasn't adapted from a novel.
We're talking about being redundant with the title cards and the exposition. But I thought the robot was the one that clobbered people. These humans taking the robots' jobs, man, I tell you.
Also, what a boring-ass stunt. Put your back to me and then pretend to hit the actor. Why not hit a different person who's good at stunts? Like, which one of you guys can take a good slap with a blackjack, a slapstick? Who's done vaudeville here? It is the 1920s. Why'd they use that guy?
Yeah. It's a good question, Mariano. How long does it take to get to Madagascar by ship?
Oh, at least a couple of months. Well,
Yeah.
no. You got steamers then. You got proper trams. Yeah, a month. Oh, that's good though.
Ah,
The
Nice.
jacket.
that's a good one.
Nice.
Where was the stunt coordinator for that blackout moment? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is killer. This is what I mean. You dig through this, there's gold in all this dirt. Like, that's a really cool, well done, exciting, interesting scene. No idea why it matters to the plot, though. I'm barely paying attention. Like, it's a boring-ass movie, but if they simplified this, if those were the robot's goons, they would have put his brain in the new model of robot because he's so smart and clever. They've got to capture him. And then I'll warn you guys, here's our final scene of this half of it. and this whole back end is just, to me, this is my favorite part. This is even better than the Straitjacket.
What I'm impressed by is the ingenuity of these 4 henchmen to coordinate in an unfamiliar environment an effective means of subduing Houdini. Like
and
that.
then tie him up and leave the room. Let's all
right,
leave
like
the
now
room.
leave. Just
It's fine.
Because I have
Yeah.
tried to coordinate with email, chat, phone, and video conferencing, and we still don't know what our jobs are.
These guys must be using some kind of Trello board or something.
Right. A Kanban board of pain.
He's like, yes, it's my favorite.
It's what I'm about.
This is what Houdini do.
Sure, you've waited 6 months to watch one 15-second serial per week to get here, but it's worth it, right, kids?
Every Saturday. The only thing you could say in their defense was, this is like when you go see, like, it's Metallica, and the band opening for them is Anthrax, and the band opening for them you've never friggin' heard of in your life, and the band opening for them started 2 weeks ago.
Right.
This is that band.
Nice.
So you didn't pay to see this. You paid to see, something exciting like Train Goes By. You paid to see something, the cartoon. So you walk in halfway, and maybe if you only see the part where you're like, oh, dude, that was great. You gotta have a straitjacket? What's the robot for? Everyone's smoking.
Yeah.
What's the robot for? I don't know. Oh, cool. Here comes the real movie. That also said episode 3, if you notice on the title card, because these have been completely recut.
I don't think it would have made any more sense being in chronological order.
No.
It really doesn't. I think you were the one, Jonathan, who equated it to like pornography or like action porn, where you write just enough plot to get Houdini from point to point to point.
Yep.
I just wish they'd done more of that, like focused more on like,
Yeah.
what are your big, I don't want to say money shot now because I used the porn analogy, but like, what are your Jet Li wire work pieces? How many of those do we have? Okay, you've got 3 minutes in between each one. How do we tie them together? I'm only giving you 3 minutes.
Yep.
Because let's get to the escaping with our toes bit. Let's get to the straitjacket. Let's get to picking the lock with the umbrella is probably super clever at the time.
I wonder if airing out of order was kind of the same thing as Firefly. It's like...
That's what killed it.
It would have been great. Oh, Monkey Toes Houdini here, rifling through the guy's pockets.
Now, Houdini could tie and untie knots. He learned this. He claimed, again, everything about Houdini must be taken with a large grain of salt. He claimed he worked with a limbless wonder, so that's a person born without arms, or whatever, in this case, no arms. And that person would roll a cigarette with their feet, would play instruments, and of course could just conduct their lives, moving, shaving their face, putting on their clothes. But because of that person being special needs, he said, hey, will you teach me? So he wanted to do card tricks with his feet, and ended up learning how to tie and untie, which later in spiritualism, you need to tie yourself up because put the handcuffs back on so they don't know you went through the papers is very much a mentalist move.
Yeah.
If you're a seance worker, yeah, you untie yourself, you tap them on the shoulder, you tie yourself back up and go, where'd that tap come from? That was weird, huh?
Yeah, and one big thing was to have a bell under the table, and then either person on either side of you would put their feet on your shoes, but the shoes would be rigid, so you could sneak your foot out. He would grab the bell with his toes and then make the bell ring and then put his foot back in his shoes.
I'm just amazed at the way he untied himself. I would never have thought to hook my feet around a door to give myself the extra, like slack in the rope to untie it. Never in a million years.
Yep.
And apparently his challenge stuff was legit in that you brought handcuffs and Houdini can escape from anything. And he had a ton of cheats and tons of tricks for how to do that. But I think that's probably stuff he developed, like the put your feet over the door thing, because when he would go to Europe, a famous move he would do is he would go to the local constabulary, say in Berlin, he would go to the and bring the press with him, because this is pre-YouTube, filming. And he would say, use your handcuffs, and usually he'd give you some guidelines, but like put me around a pillar was a famous one, a big grain of salt with this, but he goes in, they've never heard of him, he says they're going to escape from anything, they think they're getting tricky, so they put his hands around a big pillar, thinking, well, now you can't reach into your pocket. Like you expected behind your back, like a criminal, didn't you? No, no, no. Around this huge, old precincts in Berlin, huge column, chain him up, and then being funny, they say, we're going to go to lunch. We'll get you when we come back. And Houdini, you hear a clank to the floor, and he goes, hang on, boys, I'll join you. And that quick, he was out. And apparently, that story maybe, who knows, but apparently his ability to walk into a precinct and be like, who's got handcuffs? All of you? Cool, put them all on me. Let's go all the way up. Elbows to wrist, gentlemen. And then give me 6 minutes in your hardest jail cell. And he would figure out a way, but he got sneaky with it. He would half swallow. This is also an act from the circus sideshow, the Regurgitator Act. Much like the Limbless Wonder taught him to, tie and untie knots with his toes. There were people who would work as a Regurgitator Act. It's exactly what it sounds like. A little less gross than maybe what you're picturing. I could swallow a key and then swallow a lock and bring them up either in reverse order or just not swallow them completely. I could return them, or I could switch them or lock the key onto the lock. Now we're using a little sleight of hand with that, but I would swallow like an 8-ball and then a cue ball, and they would come up 8-ball, then cue ball. Or interestingly, black goldfish, red goldfish, yellow goldfish. What color would you like first, young lady? And it'll still be alive and kicking when it comes back up. You put some lock picks back there. You can be strip searched. He also, and I'm going to use a pun, he was strip searched and ballsy.
The roof of your mouth, who cares?
Exactly. He was also ballsy. He would a little packet with a little hook, and as he claps the cop on the back, he hooks it to the guy's back, search, and then as the cop walks out, steals his lock picks back off the guy's back and palms them. And now you imagine you're this cop, and you're like, I strip searched him as thoroughly as I would any crazed maniac with a history of escape. I know who he is. And the son of a gun still got out. You'll tell that story to your great-great-grandkids, and never would you think you were the one who held the lockpicks for a minute and a half on your back. So Houdini was endlessly creative, and that gives him endless practice and improv.
Yep. Non-linear problem solving, that one.
Now, Bess would slip him keys, so she was also very good at her job as his assistant. Say he's got a particularly gnarly pair of handcuffs, and she knows he doesn't have that particular lockpick hidden around the theater. She would go, rifle through the, it's an old one, I know this style. He needs one of these things. Put it in her mouth and give him a kiss for good luck.
Nice.
And often he would come out and ask to have the cuffs removed so he could feel his fingers for a second, just to get some blood back. Okay, put him back in the cuffs. Back in I go. Or to mop my brow. A drink of water, please. Undo my tie. And you never knew what was showmanship and what was he's fucked. They've got him this time. So her coming out and taking off his jacket and giving him a kiss doesn't stand out as much as you would think in hindsight when he spent 2 hours getting out of the cuffs. You're not like, she slipped him a key.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, the guy was famous for a reason. This isn't the reason. We did not watch The Reason. The guy was a badass master of his craft. This ain't it.
The curtains.
Let's
say behind the curtains of not great. Right.
I mean, we can't all master everything.
Yeah. I feel like you see celebrities try these things a lot, and they often fail. It just seems like Houdini succeeded at way more things than most celebrities, and so seeing him fail at this is kind of fun.
And also on paper, though, I would have risked my money if you'd said the great Harry Houdini, and the same things that I'm criticizing for not putting in. I'm like, yeah, Harry Houdini, the guy that can hold spellbound thousands of people at once, this big on a stage in vaudeville for decades of our life, the eclipsing, all-encompassing, not just highest paid magician, one of the biggest stars. Yeah, just point a camera at the son of a bitch, right? Let's just do this, man. We're done. We're going to make $1 billion, or thousands back then. Like, we're going to be thousandaires. I can't fault any of his math. And even him continuing. Like, you don't always hit it out of the park on your first endeavor. You go up on stage, you make the elephant disappear, and the audience goes, meh. You do it 30 more times, and you figure it out. And then it's on the poster, and then he does this. Comedians have all been through this, where you're doing a joke, and you're doing a joke, and you're doing a joke, and then suddenly you figure it out, or the audience gets hip to it, or whatever. I'm not even mad at him for trying 4 or 5 times, and then he does give up. He doesn't go for 50 years. After 4 or 5 times, what?
The difference is that when you try a joke and you try a joke and you try a joke, you're not like the world's most famous magician when you're doing that. Like, nobody cares because nobody's heard of you. And with Houdini, it's like he probably had all these years to try these things in private, but then you can't really make movies in private. You can't really just people are going to be like, oh, Houdini, yes, I will pay for that to be everywhere because I want to make tons of money off of it. And so there's no way that you could just sweep it under the rug and try again.
If you want to see a modern version of that, look at John Mayer doing stand-up. He was already on the top 20, and then he did some stand-up sets, and he was fine. He was good. He wasn't the worst, but no one's great their first year doing stand-up. I did it for 2 years as an open micer. It takes 2 or 3 to get good. I quit before I got good. It's a grind and a long one. He was maybe 6 or 7 weeks in, but every time, Kim Kardashian goes up to try, karaoke, everyone films her. She doesn't get what I got. Anonymity. The only person filming me was me. So I could burn those tapes, and I have. Because I'm now not filming my special for HBO and showing it's not fun to watch where I started to where I came. And John Mayer had that same problem. But if you watch them, they're not, I guess you got to watch them as an open micer or as a real student of comedy, because you're like, it's not that funny. But it could be. That's a good idea. That's a good, solid premise, man. If he had 6 more months with it, he could have actually been a double threat in that department. And we also see tons of actors, obviously, The Rock. I mean, how many of Hulk Hogan's are there for every one, The Rock or the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy? For every one of those, there's a Rowdy Roddy Piper who had one good movie.
Are you suggesting that Hulk Hogan had bad movies? I won't hear it. I won't hear it.
But they might have been financially successful, though. I do think, but like the mom one he did, or the babysitter one he did, or whatever, I think they actually made cash, which was his goal.
My brother and I very much enjoyed Santa with Muscles. We watched that religiously. So.
Hey, that's what The Rock did with the Tooth Fairy. He survived that movie.
He's like, well, I gotta go act in a pool. I gotta go do this movie so I can buy this house in Maui. Like, I don't care what you think. I'm buying a house with it.
I gotta tell you, if someone came to me and said, I want you to be in a movie for a lot of money, I'd be more likely to take it than a stage show for a lot of money, because I actually give a shit what you think about my stage show. I don't give a crap what you think about me as a movie performer or an actor. I don't give a shit. If they said it's a sitcom, it's a reboot of Friends, and you're Chandler, where's the check, bitches? I don't care. Shut up with all these words. Write numbers. How many zeros? Because then when you go, it was bad, I go, yeah, I'm not a TV actor. Could I be any more of a stage actor? Like, I don't care. Give me the money. Yeah. And so Houdini might have been more likely to roll the dice. And Hulk Hogan, now we're comparing those two. Houdini's rolling over in his grave.
They're on par. Yeah.
According to Ashley and her sister, they are. It depends on who you ask. Hey, thank you guys for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's another one of those important films that is more fun to watch with friends. Because, by the way, if you go and watch it, I'll send you a link if you want to just message me. I'll send you a link on YouTube for mine if you don't want to find it yourself. It doesn't make any more sense if you aren't talking over it. It's still confusing as shit. It's still not explaining very much. He still puts the handcuffs back on for no reason. So thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody in the chat. Yeah. Thank you guys for making.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for hanging out. I somehow have never seen any of that footage, so it was a first time for me. That was a lot of fun, man.
Well, I want to come up with it, so I've got another half of just that plus features. I got so much of this crap. I'm so into that early film era that's now all public domain, so we can use it. But if you guys want to do the other half, let me know. If you don't, no hard feelings. I promise. I get it. But what I'd love to do is develop, for the folks playing along at home, a drinking game for Houdini, which I guess this time would be every time the robot does anything. But I was going to go with the drinking game of when you're bored, drink, but you would have all died by the third reel.
I feel like every time they have a really good shot of Houdini's butt, because I saw a lot of Houdini butt in that one.
I didn't notice it.
He also very famously, like one of the most
fit man.
Yeah, he was fit and he knew how to play that. Bess wore, now if you go see them now, the equivalent of a thong bikini back then. In other words, just sort of bare-legged, like granny panties or bloomers. But that was insanely racy. And he very famously has the one of him in shackles, and he looks naked because he was aware that he was a rather fit gentleman, and his wife also had a nicely turned heel. And so they were absolutely playing into the sexuality. And then if you watch like the Pendragons, in the 70s and 80s, you see that exact same idea of like, yeah, he's in there doing push-ups before he goes on stage. So he comes up massively ripped. Someone unplug the stupid Alexa. Sorry, my robot's now gone into rebellion and is lighting.
So, yeah, you're talking about taking your clothes off. Let's distract him.
Alexa's like, no, you're too thin. Do more push-ups. You're putting in the wrong order, buddy. All right, I thank you guys very much, and we'll see about doing this again soon, guys. Have a good night.
Sounds dangerously close to a plan. I like it.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks again.
See ya.